political campaigning has been suspended, is what we're being told. We heard that from the Prime Minister, who was talking to us from outside Downing Street after the Cobra meeting today. We do believe that Jeremy Corbyn will be attending a rally, or certainly making a speech this evening. So there was a short pause. It will continue later on today and into tomorrow. I think only UKIP had decided that they wouldn't suspend any of their campaigning, and of course the general election will be going ahead as planned on Thursday. With me is Guardian columnist and author Owen Jones. Hello to you. Thoughts on last night, first of all?
Well, first of all, just united with grief. These were people just having a night out, you know. It's what you do on a Saturday night in London. You go out with your friends, you gossip, you catch up, you have a drink, you have fun. And what I'd say to those pathetic murdering nobodies whose last ever act was stabbing to death and running over people just having a night out is you will lose, you will be defeated. And any sympathiser of theirs watching this will know that all they will do is rot on the scrap heap of history. We all have a choice in life, don't we? Some decide to be a nurse, look after people, a police officer like those brave cops last night who, within 8 minutes, killed those murdering terrorists. Others do just everyday acts of kindness. These people, their last moment on earth was murdering innocent people having a night out. And on that, just in terms of, I think it's such a critical point, because London sometimes gets a bad press, doesn't it? A bit unfriendly, uncaring, all the rest of it. This city is so tough. You know, we went through the Nazi Blitz, aerial bombardment, 7/7, and London is stronger than ever. It's a city of strangers, whether you're from Sri Lanka, Sudan, Stockport. And what you notice about today, it's a bit quieter because it's a Sunday. That's London for you, but people in cafes and pubs, still laughing, walking the dogs, taking the kids out, lying in parks, sitting at home watching box sets because it's a Sunday off. They've lost already. People, the whole point of terror is to spread terror. If we're scared and fearful, we're locked up in our homes, if we're looking at each other suspiciously all the time, then they start to win. If we're constantly, with every decision we make, worrying about our future, and you know, every moment we're possessed by fear and terror, then they win, they achieve their goals. Look around, look at them, couples walking, people with kids. Nothing has changed. They have already been defeated, and all we need to do is, when we talk, of course, the debate, which we'll come on to now, I'm sure, about defeating extremism, we will not change. Our lives won't change, our democracy won't change, and in doing so, we will defy the terrorist murderers who yesterday tried to change our very way of life, and they will lose. Yeah,
defeating extremism. I mean, we've been hearing from the Prime Minister today. She gave us a few bullet points on how we start to do that, but we have this conversation every time there's a terror attack, and there have been 3 in 3 months.
Well, I agree, and I have to say with Theresa May, and look, I should be absolutely open here, I'm somebody who supports the Labour Party and I'm opposed to the Conservatives, just so we're absolutely clear about that.
Can I just interrupt you just to let our viewers know that 21 of the people that are in hospital are in a critical condition. Of the 38 people that are in hospital, 21 are critically injured, sorry.
And let's remember, as I said, when the deaths come out today, the names, let's remember who they were, what they did, what their loved ones say about them. Let's focus far more on them than these pathetic nobodies who killed them. Now, in terms of political campaigning, there was an agreement that there would be a suspension of campaigning in deference to remembering the lives of those who died last night, in the early hours of today. Now, in the first part of Theresa May's speech, it was pitch perfect. She was right to talk about the horror of terrorism, we stand together, we're not cowed, all the rest of it. But she violated that in the second part because she then went on to issue political proposals and political ideas. Now, there may be people watching, and it's a perfectly legitimate argument to make that in the aftermath of a terrorist attack, you don't cease campaigning or making political points because the terrorists win or not. But that's not the point, because that's what she agreed to do.
But wasn't she being prime ministerial?
No, she could have waited. After the Westminster attacks, being prime ministerial is being, you know, standing on the streets of Downing Street, fine, and expressing horror at the terrorism and unity and all the rest, not then putting forward political policies and proposals. Amber Rudd...
But don't we want to know what our Prime Minister's going to do?
Not when we suspend campaigning. Yes, of course, we need to have that debate in the coming days, absolutely. But couldn't we have had the day off? And Amber Rudd, in the aftermath of the Westminster attacks earlier this year, said that we shouldn't rush to make sudden proposals. But now she's violated that consensus, I'm afraid to say, therefore we have to have that political debate. Otherwise you have the opposition voices being gagged and abiding by it, whilst the government make political proposals. So
fine, you've made that clear, Theresa May. I think it's reprehensible, but we are where we are. And if we're going to have that debate, then listen to voices like you had earlier on, Peter Kirkham, a former senior Met officer, no lefty, I can tell you that for nothing, and talking about police cuts and the stresses of 20,000 police officers under the watch of Theresa May, who's been Home Secretary for the last 6 out of 7 years and is now Prime Minister of this country. Let's talk about the suppressed report. Just a few days ago this was revealed, a suppressed report about jihadi fundings, particularly, and this is the reason apparently it's been suppressed, because of Saudi links. Saudi Arabia
we
is
don't know if that's true.
Well, it has
We don't
been.
know if that's
Well,
true.
it has been reported. It's in the Guardian. It's in other newspapers
Doesn't
as
mean
well.
it's true.
Well, so this is the key point then, isn't it? The government should release that report in full, uncensored, and also come clean about the role of the Saudi dictatorship, which at the moment this government is becoming closer to, and argue and look at the links, the extremism that despicable head-chopping dictatorship, which is exporting extremist ideology all over the world, including in this country, which is a threat to national security. So if we're going to have the debate, which is already opened, I didn't do that, other people didn't do that, Theresa May did that this morning, let's talk about police cuts and the stresses on police forces that people like Peter Kirkham, a former senior Met officer, talked about so eloquently in your programme earlier. Let's talk about the Saudi regime, an ally of this country, which is exporting this sort of ideology the world over.
That was also supported by a previous Labour government.
You can't accuse the Labour leadership in its current form of supporting the Saudi regime because they've opposed it year after year. Well, the Labour Party's position is to end arms sales to Saudi Arabia and oppose the Saudi dictatorship. Let's just be absolutely clear about that. If there's what is it they say about sinners and repenting and all the rest of it. If Theresa May now wants to go back on her government support for Saudi Arabia and that dictatorship and to stand up to that extremist ideology that threatens to us, then fine, fantastic. I think we'd all support that measures. In fact, let's have a cross-party consensus on Saudi Arabia and its role in radicalisation. But as I've said, she started this debate. She shouldn't have done it. You can't have a situation where the government is making political points whilst the opposition then is forced to be gagged and not say anything. It's ridiculous.
We're out of time, but do you think events like last night will have an impact on Thursday?
They mustn't have an impact. However you were going to vote, don't let these terrorist attacks change it. The terrorists want to change our way of life and our democracy. The way to do it is to go out and vote in force. Make sure you exercise your democratic right. It's the last thing they want you to do.
Owen Jones, it's always great to see you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. So the latest we are hearing as we were chatting to Owen is of the 38 people that are in hospital following the attack last night. 21 of them are still in a critical condition after those 3 terrorists leapt from that vehicle and started stabbing people on the bridge, trying to get into bars, trying to get into restaurants in Borough Market, just down the road from where we are, the other side of the police cordon, at will, slashing people across the face, across the chest, across the back. 21 of them still in a critical condition. Continuing coverage on Sky.